In the 1940s, Pepsi & Co. started a tradition of gifting gold watches to their employees who retired after 25 or more years of service.
Little man, I give the watch to you.
The idea was beautiful. You gave us your time and now we give it back to you. To be fair, the price for an ounce of gold used to be $35 back then compared to $1,800 right now, but still, this is how the world worked. How long do you think people are sticking with their employer on average these days? About 5 years. The days of loyalty to a company and a company being loyal to you are long gone, which makes you easily replaceable.
Oh, don't bother, you're fired.
What? You can't fire me.
Oh, yes, I can. And I just did.
So why did it happen? And what do you need to do to be more valuable to your employer? Let's find out.
I manage my department, and I've been doing that for several years now.
Your department's just you, right?
Yes, Jim, but I am not easy to manage.
Should you or shouldn't you be loyal to your company? Of course, it depends. You might have amazing office culture, great hours, unlimited PTO, but it all comes down to your pay. Ultimately, that's why we all work. With each annual job hop, some people are seeing an average increase of 10% in their salary. This basically means that if your salary doesn't increase every year by about 10% with your employer, you're better off switching jobs.
Oh my God, oh, that is it, I'm leaving.
However, if you're working in a startup, there is options and company's potential to consider as well.
What if I create a position for you? I'll make you assistant buyer in this department. Say more things like that.
But constant turnaround is costly. Companies are spending a lot of money on recruitment, their HR department, advertising, upkeeping their Glassdoor rating, training, and so on. So why aren't they stopping this? Why aren't they encouraging longer tenures? There are a few reasons for this. Constantly changing skill demand, globalization, employees are now seen as costs, not assets, and it might actually be cheaper to hire externally. With each of these points, you can do something to be the exception to the rule. In the midst of layoffs and tightening job markets for certain jobs, these skills will be crucial to learn. At the end of the day, you want to be holding the cards. If you want to leave, but be as close to irreplaceable as possible. Technology is an unstoppable force. It allows companies to work more efficiently, automate processes, cut costs, and ultimately replace people. Look at automated cashier checkouts at grocery stores. Passport checks at airports are now done by machines, robots used in the manufacturing industry, writing done by ChatGPT, and even programming tools that automate our accounting department. At some point, all of these responsibilities were the jobs of several people. Even if you work at an office, in marketing, HR, or management, there are also many tools that you have to be keeping up with. For example, you work in email marketing and are not using Klaviyo, Pardot, Marketo, or a number of other tools that would make your job more efficient. Very quickly, your employer will realize that your competition is already implementing this new tech and they would rather hire someone from your competitor than keep you around. The same goes for management. If you're managing people and are still coordinating their tasks using Excel and are not adopting Asana, Monday.com, or other productivity tools, it might also be a red flag. This is all to say that keeping up with new technologies is a must and you have to adopt and implement them as soon as possible. Of course, with some jobs, it is a much harder task. Let's take, for example, switchboard operators. In the 1930s, technology emerged that allowed telephone users to simply dial another phone without the help of an operator. In this case, a change in career, gaining new education are the necessary steps. Globalization. Especially in the pandemic and post-pandemic world, this is becoming a big opportunity for many employers and unfortunately a sad reality for many workers in high-income countries. A web developer from India and Ukraine has a very similar skill set to the one in North America. However, they're ready to work for a fraction of that North American pay due to cheaper living expenses in their home country. This one is difficult to compete with. Your knowledge of the local market, competition landscape, language, and soft skills can all increase your value. However, for some jobs, very technical jobs like a developer, this is definitely a tough one to overcome. Become a true player, move into management, and stay on top of all news in your industry. It might actually be cheaper to hire externally than internally. In the world of the past, hiring internally was very attractive.
I'm ready. Promotion.
It brought a company a high reputation, employees that they already knew, and lower recruitment costs. However, many companies started noticing that it's not all that great. For example, let's say a director-level employee at your company leaves or retires. If the VP decides to promote a senior manager to the director role, then the manager to the senior manager position, and the coordinator to that management role, they will have to hire externally for that coordinator. Sure, it is cheaper to find a coordinator since it's a beginner level job and there is a higher supply than for the director level position. However, now your employer has 3 people who are new to their roles and maybe some of them lack understanding, training, or knowledge of their new responsibilities, all along having to onboard and train the new coordinator. On the other hand, if a company hires a director externally, it might seem like a higher upfront cost and training, but in the long run, having to deal with just one change in the department, it might end up being cheaper and more efficient for the company. In this case, to be ready to be promoted, you have to stay ahead of the game and show that you're ready for it. I have been promoted twice in the 3 years that I have been working at my current company. Before each jump, for at least 6 months, I took on new responsibilities, consciously showed leadership abilities, learned new skills, and prepared presentations of how much more money my decisions brought to the company. And of course, my employer was open to internal promotion, and my industry is a little more niche than, let's say, banking or a service job. But the truth is that employees are often viewed more as costs rather than assets to the business. Ideally, layoffs would be the last resort for a company. However, many businesses turn to them very quickly these days as soon as their balance sheets stop balancing. Instead of taking time to restructure, rethink processes, and find new revenue streams, it is quicker and more straightforward to lay off 10% of the workforce. But you can't be too mad at them. The main goal of a business is to make revenue and stay ahead of its competition. And if it's quicker and more efficient for them to lay off people, that's what you as a business owner would do as well. Sometimes there is no way around this point. We're all dependent on our employers' morals, long-term thinking, company culture, and overall economic activity in the industry. If the culture and strategic thinking are not there, or your industry is experiencing a long-term economic downturn and layoffs are happening year after year, quarter after quarter, you might be better off jumping ship before it's your turn. Although this all might seem hopeless and depressing, it might be the kick that you needed. The way employers operate now is more honest. You are replaceable. Your value to them ends when the money for you ends as well. So see this as an opportunity to push for a promotion or job hop. Are you getting a sufficient raise every year? Are you satisfied with the company culture? Do you see growth opportunities in this company in the future? Even if you answer no to all of these questions, still think twice. Consider timing, your industry, and the stage of your life right now. If you work in tech, switching jobs right now might be a big risk because last one in, first one out. If you're reaching the limits of affording your mortgage, and if not having a pay for a few months would mean losing your home, think twice as well. Kids, school, and other dependents are all factors to consider. Unlike many other people who advocate for job hopping every year, I would say that your situation is unique and only you know what's best. But still, don't stick around just because it's familiar and comfortable. This channel is for the explorers and people who take calculated risks. We talked a bit about remote work in this video, and as you can see, this is not my usual setup. I'm currently exploring South America, and if you would like to know how much we spend in a day in Colombia, please check out this video here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.